Hello everyone, today we bring you a horror film with a very bold scale. In foreign press reviews, it's a love letter to the underground film industry of the 70s, because the title alone is full of indescribable innuendo. X, set in Texas in the 1970s. That's right, the hot place where the Texas Chainsaw Massacre took place. It was a time when the underground film industry was booming. A group of young men with a dream are on their way to a farm with ambition, where they were going to make a career of their own. To make an action-packed romance film, Wayne, the owner, was keen to get a head start on the fledgling home video market, to make a fortune, and the star he's tapped, Anna, wants to make her name known to the world. Female lead Lynn is sexy and open. She became attached to Jackson. Together they want to buy a big house with a pool. And the cinematographer tries to incorporate the novelty of the mage wave into a small film to lay the groundwork for a future in Hollywood. Only Lorraine, the sound recordist, is not interested in this humiliating business. But she couldn't refuse her boyfriend's invitation to work with the photographer. The group arrives at their destination. But as soon as they knock on the door, Wayne is confronted by the old man at gunpoint. He seemed to be disgusted by the young man's energy. He had to double the rent to rent a small cabin on the edge of the farm. The old man and his wife were the only people living on the large farm. The two of them look extremely old and unkempt. It's creepy. After settling in, as they were filming no drama, so the group quickly started filming. The title of the film is The Farmer's Daughter. It's about a fierce man having an affair with a farm girl. And then here's, Anna, who had no part in the film, was wandering around. She arrives at a verdant lake. She strips off her clothes and goes for a swim. Unbeknownst to her, there are two pairs of eyes spying on her from the shadows. One is an old woman hiding in the woods with an unknown motive. The other is a crocodile lurking in the grass. A whispering soundtrack, the change of camera positions, the approaching potential crisis. Together they create a frightening atmosphere. But the crocodile is only an ambush here. As Anna returns from her escape, she sees the old woman waving at her. She dares to accept the invitation. Inside, the yellowed walls and painted furniture are in a state of disrepair. The smell of decay was overwhelming. The old woman had been a beautiful dancer in her youth. But now she was old. She looks at the pictures on the wall. She murmured to herself that I was young like you, and then stares at Anna's beautiful young face, with a mixture of envy and despair in her eyes. You might not think, the old man and the young girl in her prime are both played by the same actor. The old woman is very envious of Anna's young body, couldn't resist putting a withered hand, creeping up to her bare skin. The sudden touch startled Anna. Surprised and frightened, she flees the old woman's room in a hurry. Peeking at the river, the uncontrollable touch. The old woman seems to have a special fascination for the young Anna. If these actions are subtle, the next scene is even more obvious. In the barn, Anna starts filming her own scene. The trousers, the crocheted hair, the young face and body are all vibrant. At this point the camera suddenly cuts to the old woman's room. It's dark and gloomy, there is no life in it. The old woman changes into a green dress. She sits in front of a dressing mirror and slowly brushes her unkempt white hair out of her head. In a rusty metal box, the blue eyeshadow, long out of date, is damp and caked. She faltered as she smeared it over her sunken eyelids. She puts on the same makeup as Anna. The costume is finished. The old woman goes to the barn. She looks at Anna, who is undulating. She imagines this young flesh as her own. She switches between the rich body and the dried skin. The visual and psychological contrasts are enormous. After the voyeurism, the old woman returns to her room and tries to flirt with her husband by flicking her skirt in front of him, but the husband rejects her on the grounds of a heart attack. Then, the film uses a more brutal contrast. After the shooting, the young people gathered together in a brightly lit living room to dream of making a fortune. At this point, the scene is split in two. On one side is a bright scene of young people singing and laughing. On the other side is the blue eyeshadow of a stooped old man removing her makeup and wiping it away in the darkness of the night, like the shattering of a fantasy. The coveting of Anna's flesh is in fact the old woman's remembrance of the past. It is a remembrance of youth, of beauty, of love. But no amount of remembrance can bring back time. In her obsession with youth and her resignation to old age, the old woman's psyche gradually becomes distorted, and after witnessing the performance, Lorraine was shocked. She couldn't help but ask her soul, how do you manage to love someone and make love to someone else? Without thinking, Anna and Lynn answered in unison, Love and heart can be separated. Lin advised her that life was short. Just have fun in time. Little did Lin know that after hearing these words, she decided she wanted to be a leading lady for once. The director, Wayne, was happy to hear this, but the cameraman was immediately put off. Who would let their girlfriend do an action movie? Wayne came in and brainwashed him. He told him to take the plunge. That's the way to go. Although he was reluctant, the other 5 votes were in favor. The cameraman had to do what Lorraine wanted with gritted teeth. He actually picked up the machine and filmed his girlfriend make love with someone else. In the dead of night, the more the photographer thought about it, the worse he became and drove off in a huff. But then the old woman appeared like a ghost in front of the farm. The photographer kindly got out of the car and asked her. To his surprise, the old woman suddenly nestled her head on his shoulder. In a hoarse voice, she begged, "Look at me, I can show you my body." The photographer, of course, refused this request, and the mocking smile on his face stung the old woman even more. The old woman hangs her head in dismay. After a few seconds pause, she thrust her knife into her partner's neck. Blood spurts out. The mood of the film takes a sharp turn for the worse. If the first half of the film is joyous and eerie, the second half is a small-town thriller. Lorraine first discovers her boyfriend is missing. She tells Wayne. The two begin to split up and search for him. After running into the old man, under the pretext of helping to find his wife, Lorraine was lured into the basement and locked up. She then saw the body of her boyfriend. Wayne, who was looking for someone in the cowshed, had the worst of it. At first he got a nail through his foot. Then he noticed a commotion outside. She was peeping when she was poked in both eyes. The old woman's desperate desire for youth is transformed into extreme jealousy and murderous intent. At the same time, the arrogance and disdain of the young man in the face of the old man is also evident in many places in the film. For example, when the old man asks for help in finding his wife, Jackson does not hesitate to agree. But when they move together, he always shows his youthful superiority. First he shows off his strong physique and then he brags about his abilities with pride, much to the old man's annoyance. So he was shot and killed. And so did his girlfriend Lynn. When she saw the old woman standing by the lake, Lynn immediately rushed to her defense. "You're safe now." My grandmother was often confused too. What started as an act of kindness to help the old man turned into a self-inspired pity. And that pity stung the old woman's already fragile pride even more. So she was pushed into the lake and fed to the crocodiles. Fortunately, Anna saw the danger in time. She fished out the pistol from the prop box and rescued Lorraine from the basement. Instead, Lorraine accused her angrily. She then ran out of the house without listening to him. She was shot dead by the old man just as she left the house. Luckily, when the old man was carrying the body, he was shocked by a jerk. He had a heart attack. So Anna dared to go out with her gun in her hand. After asking for the keys to the truck, the old woman said with a vengeance, "You will eventually grow old like me. I'm not like you." Anna shouted, "I'm a star. The whole world will know my name." And then she pulls the trigger, but it's a prop gun. It doesn't go off. The old woman immediately picks up the shotgun from the ground, but she was thrown by the recoil of the gun and broke her pelvis. The old woman fell to the ground and begged Anna to help her. Anna looked at her coldly and didn't show any mercy. She jumped into the car and crushed the old woman's aging body. Youth has the last laugh after all. In this film, there's no shortage of blood-splattered violence, but the biggest horror of the film, it's the use of the physical characteristics of aging. When an old woman with thinning white hair creeps into Anna's bed and touches her young body like an evil spirit, or the final scene in which the old man's voice is heard, the audience was left gasping for breath. There were even comments from the audience that they wanted to throw up. It seems that when an older person displays a desire that has not diminished with age, it's a powerfully uncomfortable and shocking experience. And the theme of the film is clear. X focuses on the desires of the elderly, which have been neglected. There is a striking moment in the film. An old woman dancing alone in a pool of blood after killing a photographer. The BGM changes from chilling to lush and melodic. The old woman with white hair is now like a bloody swan on the dance floor. The red color under her feet is no longer scary but only sad. And this adds to the tragedy of the old woman. She will never be able to regain her youth even if she destroys the young flesh in front of her. Now, if you like it, I hope you'll like it more. See you next time.